Welcome to Garden Wise Adventures. My name is Malie, and today we're going to do an exciting update. Now, I've been trying to grow as many vegetables as possible indoors, and I showed you a video of where I planted the seeds and then one where I transplanted them up into 4-inch containers. Well, I decided I was going to take them up into larger containers, and I have put them into 1-gallon containers. So I've taken some videos along different steps just to kind of show you how well they've done. And this is the culmination video. So let me show you what the progression was. So I wanted to look at these plants a little bit. This is my experiment. These plants are growing in the potting soil that I made that has coconut coir, pumice, compost, and fertilizer. These plants are growing in the Miracle-Gro, along with these. These are the extras that I had. I'll link the video above where I did this. But if you notice, the Chiji look healthy and green in the Miracle-Gro pots. But if you go over to my soil mix, they're starting to look a little anemic and like they need some nitrogen. I'm using my self-watering containers, and I'm thinking that this is just staying too moist. So what I'm going to do is drain the water out of these and just water them by hand and see what happens there. It's been a couple of days since I removed the water out of the self-watering trays, and the color on the plants are much better. So I think they were just being overwatered, which were making the nutrients unavailable. So all in all, they're looking great. I think I'm going to transplant a lot of them into 1-gallon containers and see if I can get better growth off of them. So we're on January 8th. This is 27 days into my veggie potting soil experiment. But if you look really carefully, I am thinking that my soil that I created is winning the race so far in growth. Now, the growth is so much now that I think what I'm going to do is pot them up in gallon containers. Now I can fit 5-gallon containers, kind of like with my tomato experiment that I'll create another video for. I can fit 5 of those into each one of these trays. And I do have spots left over so that I can fit them. So I will keep the same plants in the same potting mixture so we can continue on with this experiment. So here's my veggies. I will show you the tomatoes in another video, but just a quick sneak peek. On day 35, we already have buds on orange hats. The rest of these were planted later. The rest of these were planted December 28th. But look at these. They are absolutely gorgeous. This right here was planted in Moisture Control Miracle-Gro. And these were planted in a homemade mix. And if you look at it, there's no difference between the plants. There's no difference in the height. There's no difference in the looks of it. I doubt there's any difference in the taste. So the grow mix and my homemade compost worked exactly the same. I can't tell you if the fungus gnat issue would have been any different with the homemade mix, because the fungus gnats just have made themselves at home in all of the pots. So I'm not sure if that would have made a difference. There is one small difference that I did notice, and it's my homemade mix actually takes more water than the Miracle-Gro Moisture Control, which makes sense because the Moisture Control Miracle-Gro is made to hold a lot more water. I've had to water these once since I transplanted them on the 8th, so I think it's been a little over a week, and I have not had to water these again. So water use is quite low, especially since we've got them in the gallon pots. These are just extra plants that I used a mix of the homemade compost and the Miracle-Gro, and they have the exact same growth as the other ones. So now I'm really excited. I'm going to harvest a few things and make my first salad. So that takes us to today, and today is January 16th. And I wanted to show you what my veggies look like in their gallon pots and take you through my first harvest. Now I'm still having an issue with fungus gnats. I have done everything I could think of to try to stop them. And just the whole fungus gnat issue may end up making me want to go more towards hydroponic growing. But the growth of the plants has been absolutely amazing. I'm ready to harvest. Everything was planted on December 12th, and it is, I think it's day 35 right now. And I'm ready to do my first harvest, and let me show you what it looks like. Now the way I like to harvest these salads is I like to treat them like a cut and come again. So I will just cut them down a few inches and they will grow right back. Now the one thing about these salad mixes is I found that I can usually get about 3 cuttings out of these. And then they decide not to grow back again as easily. There's that. Okay. And there we have a salad. Now I really love the chijimisai. I'm going to cut some of that. And I like using this kind of like a spinach. There's some of that. And maybe we'll do some of this gorgeous chard here. And then maybe some kale. Now today is January 21st. Before I go on to the video that was pre-recorded on January 16th and finish out, I wanted to show you that there is actually a difference now. You know, this is after the first harvest and, you know, onto a few weeks of growing into the 1-gallon pots. And I'm actually starting to see distinct differences in the regrowth. Now the original growth, there was no difference between the two different potting soils. But now, as you can see, the homemade compost is actually showing a lot more growth than the Miracle Grow. And it shows it all the way through, from the Swiss chard in the back to the kale and especially the lettuce. Here's the homemade potting soil. There's the Swiss chard as compared to that Swiss chard. That's the regrowth. This is the kale here. The kale here, and then the lettuce. So as you can see, there's definite differences. Now I'm attributing those differences to the fact that I added homemade compost to this soil mix, and I also added some dry slow release fertilizer. The Miracle Grow fertilizer actually has its own fertilizer in it that's supposed to last 3 months, and I'm wondering if maybe it's exhausted the amount of fertilizer that was already in there. So I think I'm going to have to start fertilizing these a little bit more, but these obviously do not need any fertilizer. So back to the pre-recorded version. So overall, I'm really happy with my harvest. Now the only thing, like I said, that I need to resolve is the fungus gnat issue. Now there's one more thing that I can try, and that is nematodes. I think they're called nematodes, but they are an organism, beneficial organism that you can put in your pots. They'll eat the larvae of the nematodes. Now I'm going to try that and see if that'll work. But I think next year, when I get more funds, I am going to try more of the hydroponic gardening. I've watched a lot of videos on that, and it looks like you can get really good harvests doing that, and it takes care of the fungus gnat issue. So we're going to keep trying, keep experimenting, and keep eating. I'm really excited about this. I would love to hear about your indoor growing adventures. What else do you grow indoors? What kind of edibles are you able to produce during the winter? This has really kept my spirits up. Sometimes I'll just kind of sit in this plant room because I love the warmth in here and being surrounded by wonderful plants. I appreciate you being here. If you like my videos, please like and subscribe and go have a wonderful garden adventure.